Hey friends, Lucian here with the Bullish Bears team. I wanted to make this video on pot stocks and how to swing trade them. I'm making this video, it's January 2nd, 2017 now, and pot stocks may be on another potential run again. We don't know. Obviously, you want to always follow the charts and see what's happening. But if you go back to this past summer, in the summer of 2016, pot stocks, if you started to see down here, started really making a run here. You can see this is the stock NDEV. It's one of these, pump and dump kind of penny stocks. Most of the penny stock pot stocks are, pump and dumps. So they usually kind of go on a run and then they dump, and eventually a year or years later, depending on what's going on in the marijuana industry, they'll kind of get pumped up again and then they'll dump. But anyways, you can see here back in July, it kind of started going up, consolidated, then it went up here again, and then with the election. Or actually, you could see right before the election, it started consolidating here. But then after the election, after the legalization of marijuana in California and a few other states, Arizona, Massachusetts, medical marijuana in Florida, there should have been some really great, hype right after the legalization. But what tended to happen, or what actually did happen after the election, you can see everybody kind of sold off, and then it's been in kind of some consolidation mode. So you would have thought after they legalized in, this past election, that it would have just skyrocketed, but marijuana stocks didn't. They went down, they kind of consolidated sideways, but now they might be potentially making a run again. And this is where I want to show you how to swing trade marijuana stocks using the Ichimoku system. Ichimoku is probably one of our favorite technical indicators when you're doing anything that's in a trend. So anything that's moving, the up or down, within a few week or a few month period of time, the Ichimoku cloud system is an incredible indicator for to be able to show you how to swing trade them. So, when we day trade and stuff, we might not, sometimes we use the Ichimoku cloud, but we tend to use EMAs and other indicators when day trading. But if you're a swing trader, you want to hold these stocks for more than a day, so usually a few days at a time, especially with these marijuana stocks. These pot stocks really are, they're garbage pump and dump stocks, and you can get burnt being a bag holder if you try to buy them and hold them long term. And everybody, if you type in marijuana stocks or pot stocks, they're going to tell you to buy them and, hold them long term and you'll become a millionaire. And, that happens, that, people that buy these penny stocks and hold them for a long term, yes, if you buy at the right time and hold them long term, is there a chance you could become a millionaire? Sure. But, are you going to be up, 50 grand or 100 grand on one of these stocks and not sell them? Are you just going to literally hold them? I mean, most people aren't. My point being is when you're up and you're in profit on these stocks, you're going to cash out. There's not many people that are just going to sit there and just hold shares of real garbage pump and dump stock and just hold them to the end. And, if you've ever tried doing that, the trying to stomach those highs and lows is this, it's very hard to do. So my point being with that is the safest way to trade, pump and dump companies, ideally would be to day trade them, but the next thing to do would be able to swing trade them. So hold them for a couple days at a time or a few days at a time, and then, cash out when it gets to resistance levels or when they get overbought, and then sell them, for profit, and then wait to get back in when you get a re-entry. And the Ichimoku system is a very phenomenal way to be able to show that. Now, if you're not familiar with the Ichimoku system, this indicator, make sure you watch our Ichimoku Cloud for Beginners video. We'll put it in the description box below on this video where, again, it's obviously going to be very confusing if you're not familiar with Ichimoku. So watch our video first, to really kind of bring this together. But I'm going to try and give you a little bit of the basics of Ichimoku, what to look for when trading with Ichimoku. And again, go to watch our other videos to get more of the advanced techniques and see it as a whole. But excuse me, when you're when you're looking at the Ichimoku system, the first thing you want to look at is the cloud. So the cloud is this area that you see here. So you'll see sideways, goes up, sideways, goes up, sideways. The cloud's very thin right now. The cloud really basically acts as areas of support and resistance. So when you're thinking about the cloud, just think of support and resistance. So the first thing you want to do is look at the cloud, and then you want to see where price is in relation to the cloud. So obviously right here, price is right here, the last price. This is on a daily, so I have a daily chart up of this stock here, NDEV, and you'll see price is above the cloud. Now, when price is above the cloud, it's bullish. When it's below the cloud, it's bearish. So down in this area below the cloud would be bearish, and any of these areas above here are bullish. So first thing you want to look for at the Ichimoku is find the cloud and where price is in relation to the cloud. So this right here, price is above the cloud, it's bullish. Now, the next things you want to look at are the blue and red lines. So the blue line and the red line. The blue line is called the Tenkan-sen line, and the red line is called the Kijun-sen line. When the blue line or the Tenkan-sen line is above the red Kijun-sen line, that's a bullish signal. So it's kind of like, think about like a MACD. The MACD, when the blue line is over the red line, or whatever color that you have set up, that's a bullish signal. When it crosses, it becomes a bearish signal. So the blue line is over the red line here, that's bullish. When price is above the Tenkan-sen, the blue line, and above the red Kijun-sen line, that's a bullish signal as well. So now you can see here, price is above the blue Tenkan-sen line, which is above the red Kijun-sen line, and it's riding above here. So this is all bullish indicators. So, excuse me, price is above the cloud, the Tenkan-sen's over the Kijun-sen, and price is above the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. So again, all bullish indicators. Now when it starts to roll over and falls below the Tenkan-sen and falls below the Kijun-sen and starts to fall, those are when you start to look out, and now the Tenkan-sen right now you'll see and the Kijun-sen are areas of support. If price falls below them, then they become areas of resistance. So again, look at the cloud, look at where price is in relation to the cloud, look at the blue Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen line, and see where everything is. And as you can see here, all bullish indicators, all right? So that's kind of like the simplified version of looking at the Ichimoku cloud. And you want to follow where price goes in relation to those indicators. Again, the cloud is areas of support and resistance. So the cloud is an area of support and resistance. Now you can see, the cloud right now, it's definitely an area of support because price is so far away. But I'm going to show you a few examples, and you'll see where the cloud will get bigger and smaller depending on what's actually happening with the price of the stock. But this indicator right here, the Ichimoku right now for the stock NDEV is extremely bullish. You can see very little clouds. You'll see prices going up. It's very bullish. But now this is where you want to look at when you're swing trading. And it's really any sector. The pot sector, I love swing trading it because you can get some pretty decent periods of time where you can hold them for at least a few days, maybe even a week, and the stock can get, or these pot stocks can go overbought for a certain period of time before they pull back. So you can see back in these areas here, excuse me, you'll see the stock was overbought for a little while. So you can see it'll make a nice little run. It'll give you, a few days, maybe a week, and then when it gets extremely overbought, which is on the RSI, if you're not familiar with RSI, I highly suggest you to learn about RSI. It's very, very simple. It's basically when a stock gets overbought, or basically anything over the 70 line here, when it gets up in this area, it becomes overbought. When it gets down below 30, down to the 20s area, it's oversold. So this means a lot of people are buying the stock. You can see up here it gets overbought, and when stocks tend to get overbought, people sell off for profit, and as you can see, watch here, it falls down, for pulling back, right? So people take their profit up in these areas up here, and then the stock will pull back, and then it'll decide whether it's going to consolidate, go down, or up. But the Ichimoku system with RSI and swing trading it is just, it's utter perfection once you're in a trend or something's moving. So again, whether it's pot stocks or oil or gold, it has to be a certain sector, and then with the sympathy plays within that sector. So if a big stock's running within pot, and a lot of these penny stocks will move with it. So those are the sympathy plays. So if one whole sector is moving, usually the smaller companies within it will run with it. And that's literally what happens with these marijuana stocks. When one runs, all the other runs will run with it. But, what you want to do is you'll see within a sector when, one of these marijuana, one of the marijuana stocks might be overbought, but another one might not be yet and might be trying to catch up with it. So you might be able to, ride one all the way up, cash out your profits and get in at another, for the other run, and then wait for, the one that's overbought to pull back and get back in on. And that's what I'm going to show you with a few of these marijuana stocks. You'll see in the examples that I show, ones that are overbought right now, but then ones that haven't caught up yet, where you might be able to make those runs. So if the sector starts to run, whereas right now, if these marijuana stocks run again for the next 2 or 3 months or whatever, if history repeats itself, then you can make a killing off of these marijuana stocks just by swing trading them. So as you can see here, like I showed you, the indicators, the cloud, where is price in relation to the cloud, where is price in relation to the Tkinson and the Kijinsen, or the blue and the red line. You also want to look at, is there a TK crossover? Now, a TK crossover is when the blue line crosses the red line, or whether the red line crosses the blue line. When the blue line crosses the red line, that's a bullish TK crossover. When the red line or the Kijinsen line crosses the blue line, that would be a bearish TK crossover. So if you look back here, you can see there's a bullish TK crossover back here. Now, if the TK crossover happens below the cloud, that's bearish. If it happens above the cloud, it's bullish. So as you can see here, it happened below the cloud, but then you can see price started going up. And then when the blue and the red lines, so the Tkinson and the Kijinsen, when they come out of the cloud, then it's bullish. So down here, it's technically bearish until the Tkinson and then the Kijinsen come through and price comes through with it. When price breaks through the cloud up or down, that's called a Kuhmo Breakout. So ideally, you want to find a TK crossover, and then you want to see price come out of the cloud with that Kuhmo Breakout. So as you can see here, this was technically a bullish indicator below the cloud, but you'd want to wait if you're following Ichimoku to perfection. Sometimes you want to get in beforehand and ride it up, but if you're following Ichimoku to perfection, you want to wait for that green candlestick to close outside of the cloud and maybe get in right here. And as you can see, you could ride price all the way up. But you'll see when price gets up to these overbought levels, they pull back. When they get overbought, they pull back. Now, if you weren't using RSI with the Ichimoku cloud, what you can look for without the RSI is the further away that price gets away from this red Kijinsen line, it naturally wants to pull back to it. So on any time period, whether it's the daily, the 5-minute, the 1-minute, the weekly, the more overbought that the stock gets or oversold. So, I'll pull up a chart later with where they got, some of these stocks where they got oversold. But naturally, the more overbought or oversold it gets, price wants to gravitate back to the red Kijinsen line. So it's overbought, it wants to pull back. If it's oversold, it wants to go back up. So that's where you want to look at, especially when you're looking on swing trading these. I really pay attention to the daily because I'm not holding these pot stocks for very long. I'm holding them a few days at a time. I sell at the profit levels up here. Where they're, getting really overbought, and then I wait for them to pull back and then see what happens. If price comes down and it stays above the red Kijinsen line, then I can tend to pretty much ride these up again. So I'm going to watch this candlestick here, and if there's an entry, maybe I can ride it up again for a few more days until it breaks this resistance level. If it gets overbought again, I'll wait for it to pull back to the red Kijinsen line, and then I'll get back in. And what you'll notice if you go back to these, the history with these, the run that it made in the summer here with these marijuana stocks, it was literally they would run all the way up And as you can, if you just look here at the charts, they move right back down to the red Kijinsen line. Sometimes they go right below it, but then they kind of hover right around it and they bounce up again, and then they would run. Now, this is a bad example because this is where it consolidated near the election. But if you follow back here, you can just watch these and you can just ride them up. You can see here, you ride it all the way up, and then you'll see overbought and it pulls back. You know, going back to these levels here, you can just, you can see there's lots of candlesticks. They move really quickly, and you'll see on some of the other ones I show, they're kind of violent, these marijuana stocks, with the huge wicks and tails that they have. But if you're following the Ichimoku, just watching it riding up and where it is in relation to the blue and the red line, so the Tikinsen and Kijinsen, where it is above price, and you can, again, just really ride these for a while, and these stocks just really, there's so much profit to be made using and doing swing trading with them. Again, I'm just showing you some of the basics of the Ichimoku, but make sure you watch our Ichimoku Cloud for Beginners video to kind of see. But I'm trying to show you, just kind of like to really drill it in your head, just to show you what to look for. And I'm going to show you a few more examples on what to look for. But with the Ichimoku, with the RSI, it's really just a great system with swing trading. Just look at where price is, price in relation to cloud, to the blue and the red line, the Tikinsen and Kijinsen, and look at whether it's overbought or oversold. If it's overbought, you probably want to sell. So see, look where it got up here, where it gets overbought, you would sell. You would have sold right at this green candlestick, wait for it to pull back all the way down here, and then you could erode it back up again. So let's pull up some more examples and show you just a few different examples of what's going on, where some that may not have broken out yet, and some that already have, and so you can see the difference. So let me pull up another one called My High, and look at here. So this is broaching over. My High is broaching overbought. Now, it could run a little bit more, you don't know, but you can see, look at how massive this green candlestick is. But you'll see there was a TK crossover down here, and they're so close together right now. It's such a bullish signal, but you could have gotten in right, there was a bullish TK crossover below the cloud, and you would have probably gotten in right on this green candlestick here and rode it up, and you could have rode it up. This is a kind of a bad example because this happens so quickly on the daily, and that might mean, again, that maybe these pot stocks are going to go on a run again. We have to watch. If these are going to go bullish for the next few months, you'll see maybe this will go up a day or two, it'll pull back, and then it'll start ripping and going like this again. Who knows? Or if the marijuana sector, if it's just getting one quick pump and that's about it, then it might drop down again. But you'll see how fast these move and then they come down. Let me pull up some other ones here just to give you an example. Now, these are some of the ones that are just like really garbage companies. But then you see, look at here. So you can see the run on AGTK. Look at how this worked down here. You'll see a bullish TK crossover. Now, if you were following Ichimoku to a T, you would have waited to get in until a price did a Kuhmo breakout here, and then you would have rode it up. But if you wanted to, watch and get in earlier, you can. It's just all a matter of your trading preference. But this shows you how much you could have rode up. See, if you see here, this green, you would gotten in on this green candlestick, and then you could rode it all the way up here, and you can see the blue Tikinsen line is over this Kijinsen line. Look at price. Price is just right in the Tikinsen line, and then you'll see right up here where it got super overbought. You could have rode it all the way up until where it really got overbought here, and then you could have gotten out on this candlestick and waited for it to drop. But you'll see, look at right here. It drops right down, and it went right a little bit below the Kijinsen line, and what did it do? It kind of went down, it went further down here, and you would have thought, uh-oh, that's not good. But look at this hammer. It stopped, turned around, so you could have gotten out and sold up here, waited for it to pull back and made a turn, and then you would technically, if you were following the technicals of the Ichimoku Cloud, you would have waited for price to break through the Kijinsen line and close above the blue Tikinsen line, and then rode it up again. So then you would have rode it all the way up here again, and look where it got super overbought. And what did it do? It dropped down, and it didn't close below the Tikinsen line here. It went kind of back up. But now, as you can see here, now you were heading closer to the election. So now things start to change, and people are going to profit take and be careful. And as you can see, the election, people kind of sold off. It had a little bit of a pop here, and then look what's happened. It's kind of gone down ever since, and then it starts to get really messy. And as you can see, the red Kijinsen line is above the blue Tikinsen line. So that's a bearish signal, even though it's still technically in bullish territory. But as you can see here, then price started falling below the cloud, and it's been consolidation mode and going down. But now you have a blue Tikinsen to Kijinsen crossover, and now price might be starting to go through. Now, this is where you want to pay attention. If price excuse me, breaks through and closes outside of this cloud, now you might have a Kuhmo breakout again, and this thing might start to rip. And as you can see, price right now, it's hovering right around the 50 line. It's not even close to overbought yet. So if this does a Kuhmo breakout and it closes over here, AGTK might rip and go all the way back up, and price, you'll see again the bullish signal here. You might be able to catch it, ride it up again, and if it does a wave like it did this summer and gets a 2 or 3 month wave, you can just ride it. Just like you saw here, you would do a Kuhmo breakout, ride it up. Once it gets overbought, you sell, wait for price to go back down to that Kijinsen line, and you want it to ideally, you want it to break above. So you want to be careful once you sell, and you'll see the buyers come in, man. They know what's going on with these pot stocks, and they know that they're going to try and shake you out and scare you and get you out of here, because you're going to see, hey, they're going to drop it down to below the Kijinsen line, and then look, they'll come right back in. And if you want to wait and be safe, you'll ride it. Once it breaks through this the Kijinsen and the Tikinsen line, you ride it up again. You sell and profit take, wait for it to drop back down to the Kijinsen line again. And once it bounces, then you can get back in and ride it up again. So just follow the blue and red lines, so the Tikinsen and the Kijinsen, and see where it closes. You'll see down in these areas, it fell below, but then it bounced back up. But these areas of consolidation where it gets messy, you want to be careful. You want to ideally find these runs right here. So you just follow a Kuhmo breakout, ride it up, and you sell when it gets overbought. And this might be one of those areas. So this is where you want to really be careful. Now, price is now below the cloud, and the cloud is now resistance. So it could reject at the cloud, and you can see there's been 1, 2, 3 times it's been rejected at the cloud. So it's either going to fall and go below, and it's not going to make a run again, or it's going to break through the cloud and go up. And you can see here there's not much resistance in the cloud. It's a very thin cloud compared to down here where the cloud is thicker. The thicker the cloud, the more resistance, and the more prices in the cloud, the more consolidation. So this is very interesting to watch. I'm going to show you a few other ones to look at as well that might be ready to break through the cloud. Let's look at, again, most of these companies are pump and dumps. The ones I'm pulling up here now are pump and dump companies. But look at here. So now you'll see a nice bull flag forming. We don't see a TK crossover yet, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you want to watch it. Now, price could just fall right down through the cloud, or this might have, price might go, when the market opens on Tuesday, if this is bullish, price might go and fly through here and through the cloud before even a TK crossover happens. And you might have a Kuhmo breakout on the cloud before even a TK crossover. That's how violently and how quickly or how volatile that these pot stocks run. So it's not a complete science as to when you should get in, but you can just kind of see things forming. Look at that beautiful flag. If this goes through, this price might go here, hit the top of the cloud. You might have a TK crossover, and you might be able to catch it before a Kuhmo breakout and have a couple dollar run. And look, price is still hovering at the 50 line. You could get a good run and get it overbought, and you might be able to get in at $3.30 and run it up to $5, $6 before they get the dump again. Again, they're all garbage companies. Most of these, most of them have a history of pumping and dumping. But look at what happens when they run, and you can see down here. It broke out of the cloud, and look at the run. Just ran all the way up, and then massive red candle. This is what you want to avoid, and this is why you don't want to hold these stocks long term, because if you got caught up in the wave, like, oh wow, this stock is running, I'm going to get in up here, and look what happens. You're boom down here, and you're left bag holding. So that's why you want to ideally day trade these stocks, but if not, you can swing trade them and just follow the technicals with the Ichimoku. The more they get overbought, look at these peak levels. Once it gets to these really high peak levels, they sell off. So you can see up here, They move all the way up, pulls back towards the red Kijinsen line. Bounces up. What does it do when it gets overbought again? Pulls back down. What does it do? Goes back up. When does it go overbought again? Pulls back down. And you'll see it goes below the red Kijinsen line, but what does it do? It breaks through again, and then you could have wrote it back up. And then you obviously want to find out what's going on and, see what's happening in the stock. But you'll see, again, these areas were the areas of the election where things were just, people are profit taking, all the uncertainty. After the election, people just sold off. But now look what happens. It's gone down here, and you can see. Now, this would have been a bearish, excuse me, this is a perfect example if you're now going to short stocks. Now you'll see down here, this is the Kuhmo Breakout where it's going below the cloud. So now the red Kijinsen line is over the blue Tikinson line. And now price down here, the moment price got down here, which is the Kuhmo Breakout to the low, it started to fall. Now, you would have had you would have been able to short this and, made, $1.20 or so, whatever, 304 down to $1.87. You could have shorted this, but look what happens. Right when it starts to get to oversold, look what happened. The hammer formed, buyers started to buy back in, and now it started to go back up. And now it hits and starts rejecting. The cloud, it got rejected in the cloud 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and now it's either going to drop or it's going to break through. And this is just how beautiful the Ichimoku cloud system works with swing trading. That's why we love it for swing trading, because you can just see the cloud shows you the areas of support and resistance that you wouldn't see. I mean, you'd have to just look at the candlesticks themselves, but the cloud gives you an area and shows you what's going on with support and resistance that you wouldn't necessarily see with just candlesticks. It just gives you at a glance to see what happens. And once a cloud price breaks through and there's a Kuhmo breakout, these traders they know what's going on. They follow these indicators, and they're going to get in and they're going to ride it up. And you'll see, they just do this. It's just a typical pattern of they allow these pot stocks to rip and go up not like your typical stock. Now, this can happen in the gold sector and oil sector too. It's just really volatile with these pot stocks. But again, you could make a killing with them if you follow the technicals. Sorry, I'm just excited. I'll show you a few more here just to really kind of just show you what's going on. As you can see here again, another one, Kuhmo Breakout. And you would see when there's a Kuhmo breakout, you still want to get the price when it's above the blue. Ideally, if you want to be safest, when its price is breaking above the blue Tikinson line, which is above the Kijinsen. So you could ride it here, and then you can kind of continuously ride it. And as you can see, look at here, just rode it up here above where it gets overbought. And look what it did. It has a few day pullback down here, and then the buyers swoop back in. And then, you want to be careful. Again, you don't want to get trapped in these areas here. So ideally, you want to catch it and wait for it to break above the blue Tikinson line again. Ride it up. Once it starts to get overbought up here, sell it back down. And then when a price breaks again above the blue Tikinson line, ride it all the way up. Once it gets up here, you sell it and just watch it. So when price is above the blue Tikinson line, which is above the Kijinsen line, you ride it up. But in these areas where price gets all messed up in between here or in the cloud, you want to be careful. But look at this potential bull flag forming over here. You can see a bullish TK crossover, and price is right here. If this goes through, it could break through the cloud. And look at this one, $5.40. This might run to $8 again. You might be able to get ride this thing. And this will happen quickly. You'll see how quickly these moves happen with these pot stocks, where you might be able to get in here and just ride it up for a few days. And then the moment it gets overbought in these crazy areas, sell it, wait for it to pull back, wait for the buyers to come back in, and then ride it back up again. But just watch again how far price is away from the red Kijinsen line. So you can see up here, even if I didn't look at the RSI, price is so far away from this red Kijinsen line that it's going to want to gravitate and pull back to it. So that's really how the system works. Again, look at the cloud. Look at where price is in relation to the cloud. When price is in the cloud, it becomes consolidation mode or it's indecision mode. But the moment it breaks up or down, that's a Kuhmo breakout. And just follow the blue and red lines wherever the the blue Tekinson line is it above the red Kijinsen? That's bullish. When the red Kijinsen is above the blue Tekinson line, that's bearish. And then follow price. Again, price here was indecision. It was in the cloud, and then it fell down. It's been consolidating, and there might be a great breakout. But that's how you swing trade using Ichimoku. If you really follow the Ichimoku system, it is phenomenal for trending stocks, whether it's trending upwards or trending downwards. Like, for instance, let me pull up a trending downward one. Let's pull up gold stock here. I'll pull up Nugget, and you'll start to see perfect example here. Look at this. Cloud just trending downwards. Just this big, big, thick cloud. And you see this is just all resistance levels here. But if you look back here, going back to the summer, you'll see there was a red TK crossover. So the blue line crossed the, or red line crossed the blue line. So Kijinsen crossed the blue Kijinsen. And you'll see that prices just now, when it falls through the cloud, it comes down here. Now look here, oversold, right? So now it's an oversold area. Look at how far price is away from the Kijinsen. So what does it want to do? It naturally wants to gravitate back. So it's now going to, but look at the cloud. It's rejecting off of the cloud, and look what it does. It falls back down, falls below the Kijinsen, and what does it do? It kind of starts to want to go back again, comes back down. And you'll see it now, it just falls. And look at how far price falls down away from this Kijinsen line. Price is all down here, and look at down here. Look at the oversold. So it naturally wants to start gravitating back, but what's it do? It rejects and falls, and it keeps falling. So you'll see it's just continuously falling down. And look at the red Kijinsen line is just staying above the blue Kijinsen. Now there might be there's a TK crossover here. Things might be changing, but still price has to break these levels of resistance. And this massive cloud shows you the resistance. So this is where Ichimoku just shows you how powerful it is. It shows you the levels of resistance and support. Whereas this is massive resistance levels, where I showed you before, the cloud was very thin and just areas of support levels. So this is where how you can watch these stocks, and when the stock goes in a downtrend, this is where you can short it, and you can follow this, and just, when a price falls here, you can follow it, and you could short it down to here. Once you see it getting oversold, you'd want to cover your position, see if it goes back up, and then you can, you could follow it down here, short it down here again. Then you want to be careful. You want to get out. Obviously, you might not want to do it as much here because there's consolidation. But you can see here, when price started to fall down here, look at this. It had a nice fall. You could have shorted it from here all the way down. Once it starts to consolidate, you cover your position. Follow it, wait for it to go back up here, and look at here. Once it falls down here, you could have shorted it again all the way down till it found a bottom, covered your position. But that's how Ichimoku, the system, really works. It shows you just trending stocks and what's happening. But these pot stocks are just, there's a great chance that they might want to make a run again. And look at these runs. You can just follow them up, cash out, take your profits, wait for them to fall, and then just follow the Ichimoku system. Ride them back up. Once they get overbought, sell them down. And you can see just a few days of buying till they get overbought. A few days of selling till they pull back. A few days of buying again, then a couple days of selling. Buyers come back in again, and then they love to just get these overbought. They profit take, and the average person, this is where you don't want to be the average person. The average person will just buy something because they believe whatever sector is moving up, and then they get caught bag holding. And that's what happens in these areas, are the bag holders that end up holding these stocks when the day traders and swing traders are just going in there and they're pumping them. Again, these are pump and dump stocks. They're garbage companies, and that's why you want to profit take and just ideally day trade them or swing trade them. So if you work a job and you can't day trade them, then you can swing trade them, again, if you just know the Ichimoku system and how it works. I'll show you a couple charts on the weekly just to show you how they kind of come together as well. But look at it looks like a mess with the cloud here. But look at, just very simply, this is the weekly chart. Where is price in relation to the cloud? Price is above the cloud. You'll see how super overbought it is. So you can see back here, it was overbought, and what did it do? It pulled back and got into consolidation mode. But it kind of still, even though it fell below the red Kijinsen line, it's still kind of, it went below it, but then it's kind of, it's hovering right around that red Kijinsen line. And then what did it do? It went back up again until it's overbought. So it might pull back on a weekly, but you never know with these pot stocks, man. These pot stocks can run for, on the weekly for a month or two where they could stay overbought. But this is where you still want to be careful. You don't want to just take these garbage pot stocks and just hold them long term. You want to look at the areas on the weekly and see what's happening so you can get a gauge, but you don't want to hold them long term just knowing that they are garbage pot stock, companies. And as you can see, here's the weekly again on another one. It's falling below, but it might be forming a breakout. You can see here, the ascending triangle here. Now price is either going to break above it or it's going to fall below. But you'll see this beautiful double bottom formed, and now it's, it might fall down, it might go up, you just don't know, but pay attention. But this is how you can use Ichimoku to look at the long term. I'll pull up a couple of the other ones here on the weekly just to show you. So again, this might be, it's got a nice Kuhmo breakout up here. It's pulled back, and it might be forming a bull flag here. We got to see. If it breaks above this Kijinsen line, it could fly and go up there, and this might be a nice bull flag. Keep an eye out on it. But just again, this just goes to show you how the Ichimoku system works. Another potential flag. It's either going to drop and go down, or it could fly and rip. Look at that, $5.40. This could go back up to $8.25 and break it if it wants. And look, there's still ways for this to go overbought. So this is where if you find a really volatile sector, the RSI can go overbought for a little period of time. More than your typical stock, especially with these pot stocks. It's a very special sector that doesn't run for very long when it does, but when it does run, you can see these massive rips up, and you can see it just has a tendency to do that, and then it does some weird stuff. But this is again on the weekly. I don't suggest doing pot stocks on the weekly thinking you're going to hold long term. You want to look at it on the daily and swing trade them on the daily. And then when you want to find your entry point, I go to the 5 minute and I'll see something like this. Here's a 5 minute chart. I'll see my entry and I'll look and see, is it overbought or oversold? Right now, price is below the cloud. It's right at the 50 line. So I would say, let me look at NDEV again on the daily, what I would potentially do. So on the 5 minute, it's not bad. But there are the areas of resistance. Let's pull it up on the daily. So yeah, I'd be careful because this is caught up potentially in the overbought area, and there's some indecision. So if I was looking to get in on this, I would then look and see, well, this candlestick's got some indecision. It's got a doji here. And price is hitting some potentially resistance here. So I might want to wait for it to break out here and then check on the daily and see what happens. I'm not really too comfortable on that one yet unless I was day trading it, but I would look at some of these other ones that haven't necessarily broken out yet on the daily, and I would say, okay, this one right here might be forming a bull flag here. Let's see what can looks like on the 5 minute right now. Is it overbought or is it oversold? And we'll see here where, it's touching the top of the cloud. It hasn't fallen, which is good. So it's not overbought. If it was overbought in these areas, I want to wait for it to pull back because, again, it wants to gravitate down to the Kijinsen line. So I can see this is not bad. And I can look here, and this isn't bad. This is not a bad trade right now. I might wait just to see what happens Tuesday morning to get in, if it's going to go up or down. But as you can see, it's right around the 50 line. There might be a flag with a Kuhmo breakout. And if I look at my entry here, it's hovering right around the 50. I would probably take this trade. I might wait just to see the entry, but then I would go with it, I think. I'll look at another couple ones. I'm actually in a couple of these trades right now. Canon, CBDS, same thing, CBDS on the daily. I would then go over to the 5 minute, And this is one I believe that you want to be careful of right now. Yeah, perfect example. So now this is the 5 minute on CBDS. CBDS in the 5 minute is approaching overbought. So as you can see, look at how far the green candle is from the 5 minute candle. I would wait potentially for this 5 minute to fall back down towards this red Kijinsen line, and you'll see what happens when these pot stocks are running. It'll happen pretty quickly. So it's at 540. I would look for an entry right around this 535, 536 mark, and you'll see on the 5 minute candlestick this could drop really quickly during market hours. So I'd look at my entry right around here. So as you can see on CBDS, there isn't a Kuhmo breakout yet, but now I'm looking for entry. The entry is potentially, it's heading overbought. So again, you can follow, instead of paying 540, why not get in around this area, 535, 536, save yourself a little bit of money on the pullback, get in here, and then you have your entry, and then ride it through the Kuhmo breakout, and then sell in the areas where it gets overbought. Let me pull up one more for you here. CNAB is another one. CNAB, another one, might be a potential bull flag forming. There is a TK crossover. It is bullish in a bearish area, but look at how thin this cloud is. It's only going to take one candlestick to break through this, and it might rip. And you can see it's not overbought. So if I want to look for an entry here, I would go back over here to the 5 minute, and I would pull up CNAB. And look at CNAB. It's not overbought. You'll see now price was heading overbought, and look what it did. It's gravitated back down to the red Kijinsen line, went a little below, and it popped up. So now this might be a good end. I would feel comfortable getting in here as long as Monday morning or Tuesday morning when the market opens. If it starts to head up a little bit, then I'd feel more good about my entry because I'm not overbought up here. So you'll see down here in these areas of oversold, you see how far price is away from the Kijinsen line? This would be a good entry point to get in and ride it up. So you can ride it up for these profits. So really what you want to do with these Ichimoku when you're swing trading them is look at it on the daily, look at where price is in relation to the red Kijinsen line, and when you find your entry, you want to just check and see if it's overbought or oversold. If it's overbought on the 5 minute, you wait for a pullback. So let me go back to the CBDS one again. If it's overbought on the 5 minute or broaching there, wait for it to pull back down here. Once price falls back down and bounces above the red Kijinsen line, then you get your entry and you ride it up. So that's really all I do with swing trading these pot stocks. I look at them on the daily, and then I find my entry on the 5 minute. If it's over in an oversold area like down here, depending on where it was on relation at a daily, I would get in potentially because then it starts to ride back up. But once it's overbought, I'd wait for it to pull back and find my entry. Just follow the red Kijinsen line. And that's, again, how Ichimoku and the system works. It's phenomenal for swing trading. And just really all you do is look at the cloud, look at where price is in relation to the cloud, and look at where the blue Kijinsen line is in relation to the Kijinsen red line. And then just use RSI with it. Find out and watch these areas of overbought. When you see these massive overbought areas, you sell and wait for a pullback. And as you can see, look at how it worked. It goes all the way up, massively overbought, pulls back for a few days, ride it all the way up again, gets massively overbought, wait for the pullback, ride it all the way up, gets overbought, and then watch. And then you can see if price does funky stuff and falls below the Kijinsen and Kijinsen lines and below the cloud, then you wait. And then you find something like this and you say, wait a second, this is worth taking a look at, maybe wait a day or two, and the moment price breaks out of that cloud, ride it back up, and hopefully that wave, if the marijuana stocks go on this run again like you see here, you'll be able to ride them and just make some really great profits. And as you can see, it goes a few days, so you can ride these up, usually 3, 4, 5 days, maybe a week, and then there's 2 or 3 days of sell-off. The buyers come in, you can ride them up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days again, wait for it to fall back. But it's all depending on whether the stock is trending, or a sector is trending and is really in a bullish trend, or again, bearish. Same thing. If you caught this, the marijuana sector, when it starts to trend downwards. So when the trend is done with marijuana stocks or whatever sector you're looking at, you just do the opposite. So instead of riding it up, that's where the shorting would come in. And like I showed you with gold before, you could make a killing off shorting gold when the trend is heading downward. So again, if you want more training on the Ichimoku system, watch our Ichimoku Clad for Beginners video below. We also have some other advanced Ichimoku videos on our YouTube, but I really wanted to zone in on these marijuana stocks because when I'm making this video now here, like I said, it's the 2nd of January, 2017. These marijuana stocks may go on another run again. If price starts breaking these clouds and doing what it did this past summer, we might have another 2 or 3 months where you can make a killing off these stocks, just swing trading them. So hopefully this video helped you. Again, be very careful. These marijuana stocks are all garbage, pump and dump companies. They have not proven themselves to be legit long-term. Don't get suckered into all the news of buying these stocks and holding them long-term for marijuana and becoming a marijuana millionaire. Yes, there are some people that do become millionaires, but I mean, let's be realistic about it. If you're up tens of thousands of dollars and you got lucky enough on an entry, you're probably going to sell and profit take. That's your best thing to do. So ideally, you want to day trade these marijuana stocks. But if you can't day trade them, swing trade them, use the Ichimoku system. Always take your profit and then ride it back up again. And when the trend ends, find another trend that's moving and use the Ichimoku system with whatever sector is going or hot at the moment. So if you want to learn more about the stock market, if you want to learn, how to trade stocks or options, head over to our website over at bullishbears.com. We do have some free training courses on our website that we like to offer our followers, so hopefully they will help you. And also, too, we have a wonderful community called the Bullish Bear Stock Market Community on Facebook, where we're a group of collaborative traders, fun traders from around the world that love helping others out. So if you want to become part of a community that will love to help you out, and we have a lot of fun every day, make sure you join our free stock trading community on Facebook called the Bullish Bears. And also, too, please subscribe to our YouTube channel before you leave so you can stay updated on our latest videos. So hopefully this video helped you and that you make a lot of money trading pot stocks or whatever sector that you decide to get involved in. Again, just keep an eye on this marijuana sector because it will drop at some point. And if history repeats itself, it seems like the last major times that this happened back in 2011 and 12, and I think it was 2014, they typically have a history of running to like a January to March and then selling off. Who knows if it'll happen again this 2017, but go back and watch the weeklies on a lot of these and you'll see that these stocks started to sell off. You can see they would go on a nice run and then they would dump off, So here's the January, February, kind of March, and drops off. So you want to be careful. Always profit take and just be careful. But again, hopefully this video helped you, and we'll see you in our community. And we just appreciate you. And again, feel free to come and join us. Enjoy.